Hey, how are you guys doing? That's what happens when you get distracted and you're ready to go live here in the Express Entry Live Q&A, and you are looking at your phone. I was just getting prepped up. I had a wonderful day yesterday. I went fishing in the evening and had a lot of fun catching a bunch of walleye, and I saw the craziest thing. Well, two amazing things, and I wanted to share them with you guys today so you could check it out. But let's see. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to share one of the things. Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can drop it into my computer because we'll wait for people to chime in and connect in before we start going live here. As always, post where you're tuning in from because I love to see where everybody's at. And I love to hear how people are progressing with their Express Entry journeys. And especially those who are attending the DIY course, the Express Entry Masterclass right now. I love to get shout outs for those people. I know we had, and there still is time to get in. We've had 2 masterclasses, but that doesn't preclude anybody from sliding over and joining us now and getting all their questions answered, because no question will go unanswered. Let's just see here. I want to share just a couple little pictures while we're waiting for everybody to connect in. And I just had this crazy experience the other day. Well, I should say last night. I'm trying to figure out, some of these are videos and they're a little bit long. And so it might not work as well to show, but let's just see here. Let's see if we can get this to work here. We'll see. Anyways. Okay, one thing I will show you while I'm waiting for the other one to download was, actually looks like it's going pretty quick. So I went fishing under this bridge and we were fishing for walleye yesterday with my friend. This is what I love to do in the evenings. And when we were walking down the trail to get to where we were fishing, this is what was waiting for me here. Let's see if we can get it up here. There we go. Look at that. So anybody know what that is? Yes. And right to the right of it is where the path is. So what do you think? Can any guessers just post in the comments below what you think that is? I love to see if how you guys can identify your animals. So in Canada here, you guys, absolutely, we have this little critter who's on occasion likes to come out in the drier deserty kind of areas, which southern Alberta, where I like to fish, that is one of the places where there are a number of these. Just going to raise this up a little bit here. So let's see if anybody knows what it is. Yes, Tolkien says, wow, what a beautiful animal. Well, what do you think it is, you guys? Oh, Mayanne, yes, we're getting warm over on Facebook. So Mayanne, what do you think it is? What kind of snake is it? Yeah. Promises that should be a snake, I guess. Yes, it is. It is most definitely. And I'll show you one other thing that I just can't help but share with you guys because it was so much fun. I was playing a little joke on my wife here, but actually I'm going to pull up just a couple. This one I'm going to share, and I'm going to share this one as well right here because it is so funny. All right, let's see. There we go. Okay, let's drop it there. Okay, so yes, let's see. Oh, we're getting close. We're getting close, you guys. We've got a bull snake. We've got a python. We've got a rattlesnake is the winner. That is exactly what it is. It is a rattlesnake. So normally those things can be a little scary. And I'll show you the interesting thing about that particular rattlesnake is this, and I'll show you, and then I can't help myself today. They're just, I just have so much fun doing this stuff. Okay, I'm going to share with you guys a little video, and I don't know if you'll be able to hear the sound of it, but you'll get the gist of it here. Okay, let's see. You'll get a kick out of this.
Dude, no, don't, no. Seriously, let it be, man. You don't know. Mark, it's not the smart play.
Yeah! Oh my goodness! Ah! Whoa! Yeah! I am the Rattler man. I'm the Rattler man.
Oh my God. Oh, you're nuts.
To get a kick out of that. Oh, now I've got to get back to the right screen here. Anyway, so the snake, you guys, was dead. The snake was not alive. I think what happened was there was a bridge that passed by, and I'm pretty sure that the snake was probably hit. And so Lucky says, "Do I get a prize for winning?" You should get a prize. You really should. Okay. Do you know what I'm gonna do, Lucky? I will give you a prize. In fact, I will give you a free access to the Express Entry DIY course. How does that sound, Lucky? Actually, I'll give you free access to one of the courses, whichever one works best for you. So we've got a study permit course, a spousal course, and an Express Entry course. So I will give you free access to it. So yes, so that's what you can do. And what I'm going to do, Lucky, if you can just send me an email and just identify yourself, then what we'll do is we'll give you a free access to it. All right. That's what we'll do. And where do you do? Here, you can just send an email here to just to the firm, to info@holthelaw.com. There, you can just send it right here to this email address, which that's not very easy to see, is it? See, guys, I have fun. I have to have fun. That's the only way to go, right? You got to play around and have some fun. Okay, so, oh man, you can't even see that. Okay, we're going to go. I think you can probably make it out. Let's change the color one more time here. We'll make it black. There we go. Okay, now you can see. So just send it to that. Oh man, there we go. Send it to this email address right there, Lucky, and then I'll extend that free access to the course of your choosing. So send that and then let me know which one you want. And you guys, I don't want other people pretending to be Lucky because I can figure out what Lucky's contact information is. All right. So that was kind of fun. All right, let's see what your crazy comments are. You probably thought it was real. Taj says, "I'm surprised you have rattlesnakes in Canada. Wow, in the cold. I love snakes like Aussies." Yeah, well, we do have snakes. Yes, we do. Let's see here. Was that a toy? That was funny. I'm glad you guys thought it was funny. Hey, everything is too serious. Oh, I got it now. And then we've got a bunch of, I wish I could post these emojis that you guys are posting. And then Lucky says, "Thanks so much. You are very, very welcome." Oh, there we go. Tibor says, "Not funny joke. I thought you were going to get bit." The whole time I was thinking that it shouldn't let him that close. Yeah, nice try by Bob. Nice try. Okay, there you go. We do, like, everything is just, every once in a while we have to have some fun, right? Everyone has to have some fun. Unfortunately, Sarab, no, I won't give a gift of the course to everybody, but I really appreciate you guys, your humor and just bearing with me, because I'm not a real serious guy. Like, I'm not. And I'm finding that over the years that I've done immigration, there's so much that just, it's really hard. I'll be honest. It's a hard area to practice in. You take the consults, like usually people book consults with me when things go bad, and I can't always fix things. It's interesting. In the beginning, when I started my practice, there wasn't a single thing that I couldn't fix. There was an officer I could talk to. There was discretion at the local level with visa officers. I just finished, working on the border as an officer. I had colleagues everywhere that I could reach out to fix issues. And now immigration has just changed. Yes, it took longer back then. The average processing time for a permanent resident application was almost always over 2 years. It didn't matter where you were applying. But now we've gone to this expedited, fast processing times. And what's sacrificed with that? Well, when an officer is racing to get a file processed, they have very little forgiveness for mistakes. And this is part of the reason I did that video. If you haven't watched it on our YouTube channel, entitled "Why are officers, refusing so many express entry applications?" And then some people were like, "No, they're not. They are. They are finding new and creative ways, and they're being harsher than I've ever seen them. Asking for CVs and resumes for people. Going back and refusing because people don't respond quick enough when they do respond, and they just don't have the information matched up with the file. And then the officer refuses an application. Like, I have one reconsideration request I'm making right now for someone who didn't include, or at least theoretically the officer, they didn't include their debts and other obligations in their response. And they still had other pending requests outstanding in their IRCC Secure account. And because they didn't, allegedly, in the officer's mind, upload it into the right box in the IRCC Secure account, they refused it, even when they had other requests still pending for that same file. And it's just, we're seeing a lot of this, a lot. I'm not even joking. And how do I see this? Why do I see this? Well, it's because ultimately the people book consults when things go wrong, and they don't post their mistakes online. When bad things happen, people don't go and just celebrate to the world, "Hey, I missed something," or "My application got rejected." People don't talk about that. All they talk about is, "Oh, it's so easy. Mine got approved." When in many cases, that person may have just gotten an officer who overlooked it. So yeah, and I understand, Promptius, I'm really getting scared with these recent high volume PR refusals. And I don't want to freak people out, because if you do things correctly, like, please understand, if you do things correctly, there is no room for them to refuse. They can't. There's only one option: approve. And that's why we've shifted our whole practice to more of a collaborative process where we work directly with you. Instead of you just giving us the information, we not talk to you, we put it together and submit it and just tell us, and you have no real interaction. We literally get on Zoom calls with you, screen shares, and go through everything so that there's nothing missed. So yeah, but this is something that we're seeing. Let's just see here. Sarab says, "Hey Mark, in your last video, yes, express entry rejections, why so many? You gave an example of one person whose application was rejected because of funds. Requirement, a fake fund requirement is not for CEC, right?" Oh yes, I'm not sure what that means, but for Canadian experience class, no, you do not need to demonstrate proof of funds. You're exempt from doing that. But for FSW, you do. Or those who have job offers that meet the definition of a job offer under express entry. So all of those things, that for CEC, you do not need settlement funds. So this client was not in Canada. They were in the US, actually. And so, yeah, but just to reiterate, Promise, you don't need to be worried or concerned at all about this when you do things correctly. It's the fact that just in the past, and especially through the pandemic, it seemed like they were more willing to let things slide that they're not willing to do now. Why? Because of the processing times. And that's one of the things that I talked about in that video that Sarab is mentioning right here, the Express Entry 2023 why are so many applications getting rejected? And you can just go and watch, like I broadcasted it across all of the different channels that we have, but the easiest probably way to access it is to go to our firm website. Let's see if I can flip over here and just show you. Okay, so yeah, so on the YouTube channel. So if you go here and you go to lives, because that's where it was, you'll see that I did one right here. Why are so many applications getting refused? We've got about 1.4K views, and it just, the reality is I wish people would, I wish this messaging would get out more, because there are little things that you can do to make sure you don't fall into those traps. Obviously, that's what we teach in the course, and that's what I talk about in the masterclass. But that's how we deal with things within our firm, Holthe Immigration Law. So I'll just leave those things out there for you guys to think about. And Tolkien says, "Mark, you're awesome. Although I've given up on my dreams of moving to your amazing country, Canada, I still enjoy watching your videos." Well, hey, I'm glad I was able to show you crazy snake videos. So so there you go, Tolkien. All right. And okay, let's see if Lucky, I just sent an email. Please confirm receipt before someone impersonates me. That's entirely possible. let's just see if I'm going to reach out to Prem and tell him to keep a lookout on it. So just 1 second here. Just give me a second, you guys. Prem is my intake specialist. Okay. So we will confirm that you've received the email here. Just give me 1 second, Lucky. I'm just going to take a little screenshot here, and I'll send this one to Prem as well so that he has it. Okay. Okay, we'll just wait a second and see if Prem responds. All right. Okay, so let's get back to some more shout outs. Please post where you're tuning in from as always, and we will, we'll give a bunch of shout outs. We've got, okay, Eric. Oh, I can't tell which country that's from. Cool flag though. Very, very cool flag. And it looks like just before we get that, someone did drop in a super. So let's see what we have here. So Manu says, I got my ONP notification 3 weeks before finishing a year. Can I submit my application under human capital priority CEC after finishing a year? Wow, that is really tricky, Manu, because the ONP has different, ultimately you're going to follow through with the same process. I have never experienced that, Manu. So here's the challenge that I have in these types of situations. The only way that you can submit a profile before you hit 1 year is if you are not telling or not indicating the truth in your eligibility assessment. So it asks when it's generating the profile if you have completed 1 year of experience. And if you say yes, well, then that's not true. And that 1 year of experience is a mandatory requirement to get into the express entry pool. So you guys probably, if you've gone through the process or taken the course, you'll know that to set up your profile, you need to answer some questions in this little wizard to determine if you're eligible. Well, the only way you could get eligible under CEC is if you have 1 full year. And if you say, no, I don't, then you're not going to be eligible for CEC. So this is always the problem that I have, Manu, with people who maybe start their profile early at 11 months or something like that, because it rounds up by months, right? Not days. So technically you could have, 10 months and 2 days of experience. I think that's probably like the least amount, and still get drawn depending upon where you started. Like if you started the last day of, say, October 31st, you would get credit for all of October. And then if you finished your work on the first day of September of the following year, then you would get credit for all of September. So technically you could work 2 days more than 10 months. So 10 months and 2 days, and still get, be rounded up to reach that 1 year. So this is a really good question, and I don't have an answer for it, Manu. Ultimately you've received the notification of interest, 3 weeks before finishing the year mark. In that situation, obviously for the purposes of the Canadian Experience class, by the time you get your OINP nomination, you're going to be well past a year, so it's not going to be an issue. So, it all comes down to the OINP and what they're going to do. And that, my friend, I don't have an answer for. If individuals, where I see the problem a lot is when people are getting credit for their second year, where they're working in Canada, they're in their current occupation, and maybe they're at about 1 year, 6 months, and then 6 months later, the system rolls over to 2 years of a Canadian work experience. And, and really it rolls over a little bit early because you haven't quite finished that month, because it just depends on where the invitation to apply, where within the month it falls. Some people then will be given credit for 2 years before they actually have reached the 2 years. And then the response is to just wait, don't file your EAPR until you've got that full year. So, in your situation with the notification of interest, you've got a certain time period to respond. So maybe you take the same approach, maybe because you don't want to lose it, right? It's, whenever you have something, but ultimately, there is a little bit of a risk there. And so I can't say that, if you go forward and you respond to the notification of interest, then Ontario won't have an issue with it, right? I can't say that. because technically speaking, you haven't hit the 1 year of eligibility for CEC, but yeah, I don't, Manu, this is something that I probably would book a consult for. And I know we spent quite a bit of time, but hey, you submitted a super chat, so I wanted to make sure that I gave you the time. But this is something that I think you definitely run a risk if you proceed forward, that the ONP could, determine that maybe you weren't eligible at the time in which, because you didn't have the 1 year of work experience. Because remember, reference letters are down to the day, not month. And so they could be able to, they could, see that. But will they? And what's the likelihood? I try not to deal in probabilities. In other words, I try not to say, well, Manu, it's more likely than not the ONP won't care. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm using that as an example. Some people say, well, it's probably greater, there's probably a 60% chance or 70% chance you'll be fine. I don't like to do that. When I'm dealing with this, I never want to give advice. If there's even a remote chance that an officer could reject it, then that's what I say. I say, look, there's a chance that it, could be rejected. And ultimately, that's a risk that you could take if you decided to proceed forward, but there is a risk in those circumstances. But that's a really good question. I've never seen that before, ever. All right, let's see where we'll get to some other questions here in a second, but I want to give some other shout outs. Oh, hello and namaste from Nepal. Prabhu, it's great to have you tuning in. Welcome, welcome. Let's see here. Okay, we've got Taj here. I'll give you a shout out, Taj, and then we'll get to your question in just a little bit. Marco says, when is the next EE course? Do you know what? I recommend that you subscribe now, Marco, because you're not going to miss out on anything. And anyone who subscribes now has the ability to continue accessing the master courses in the future. So you'll still get an invitation to join us in future master classes if you want to join in. So once you purchase the course, this is one new feature that I have. Then you'll be able to continue to benefit from future master classes. And I'll be honest, when people wait until the last minute to subscribe to the course, and just to flip over here and show you guys what it is, when you go, there's a link below, which makes it easy to find it. But when you go to the actual courses, you can see here May 22nd to the 25th. So tomorrow's the last day of masterclass, and we have one tonight. People usually wait until the weekend before to do it. But the reality is the course itself is chock full of over 10 hours of content. And so there's no way you're going to be able to have time to go through this. And the strength of the masterclass, the 4 extra hours of live direct with me, is having gone through all of these lessons, all of this material, and then bring your best questions to those master classes. That's what makes it so good. So Marco, I actually encourage you to book, to join us now and jump in now, and then you'll also get the benefit of future master classes as you need them as well. And that goes for everybody. I encourage you to do that, and there should be links in the description below. Okay, Amara over in Ivory Coast, great to have you here. Ayesha, great to have you. Hello. Aisling is over in Guyana. Fantastic. I think you probably knew Aisling. My son was in Suriname for about 18 months. So he served his mission for our church in Suriname, learned to speak Dutch and Suriname and some other dialects when he was there. He was there for 18 months. He had to come home early, 6 months early because of the pandemic. But my other son is actually in Chile serving his mission right now, and he will finish up in September. And so he's he left not speaking any Spanish, and he's a Spanish-speaking fool now. And he's got a missionary companion that's from Chile as well. He's had companions from Peru and Argentina, I think. So you can't help when you've got a fellow missionary that speaks the language that you're trying to learn. There's nothing that works better. And not having an ability to speak English, just Spanish, really helped him. And to be honest, I had almost 5 wonderful months with a Portuguese speaking companion myself when I was in Portugal, Miguel de Silva, who lives in Viseu, and just a wonderful, wonderful friend. And I've had a chance to go visit him and his wife over the years in Portugal. And there's nothing better for learning language than immersing yourself in it and not speaking your native language. So, and I came home in, I guess 1994. I served my mission from 92 to 94. And it's hard to believe, that time that I spent there, I still have the ability to speak a little Portuguese after all those years. It's hard to believe it's so many. Wow. Wow. All right, let's keep going here. Taj is over in Nigeria. Welcome, Taj. Great to have you. We've got Mays tuning in from Toronto. Hello. We've got the top 10. Hi, how are you? And let's see what else I have here. Talis says, Mark, how are you doing? Went fishing last week. I did indeed go fishing. We've got Renee's over in Jamaica. Welcome, Renee. Okay, and then we'll just zip through these other comments. And I apologize if I freaked you guys out about the snake. Yeah. But you know what? That snake had not died. He had not died like only just a few, like not long before that, before we came there, because obviously he was still, there was no rigor set into that snake. Okay, let's see here if Prem got the email. Let's see. We'll see if Prem connects in here and confirms, Lucky, about your prize. Okay. All right, we got another super, so we'll pull that one up. Let's see, this one is from KP. Okay. Okay, let's hit KP's super chat here. So KP says, claimed points for sibling. Okay. My brother's PR card expired and will take 3 to 4 months for renewal. Can I send a copy of his expired card with the receipt showing that he already applied for a new card? Well, yeah, you can do that. And better yet, include his confirmation of permanent residence as well. That COPR is actually the proof, the actual proof of permanent residence. So I would include that. Don't forget, KP, to and do exactly as you say. So the request to extend, the renew the PR card, include that, the expired PR copy of the expired PR card, as well as the confirmation of permanent residence. I would include that as well. And then ultimately, don't forget proving residency in Canada through the utility bills, things like that. And then obviously birth certificate showing that you guys have the same parents or parent. All right. Good question, KP. Good question. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Do a couple more shout outs if I can find any more. Let's see who else we have here. Promise says, yeah, I watched it. Okay, let's see here. What else? Is there any others? Token says, so we can confirm that he is really lucky. That's right. He is. That's right. Okay. And then Aceling's got some flags going there. Sack is over in Vancouver. We've got Vibob who's in Brampton. Welcome. Oh, we've got the flags. Taj has got the flags too. Very cool. All right, let's see here. And we will definitely take the time to make sure we get to everybody's question. Let's see here. Okay, yes, Rob's asking about predictions on the draw. We'll definitely get to that. Is there any other shout outs? Okay, I think we just got questions for the most part here. We've got Randy who's watching over in Vancouver. Thanks for connecting in, Randy. Okay, let's start with just a couple little notifications that I want to make before I jump to the actual question. So there has been some developments. So there's been some good things. One thing I want to point out for all of you international medical graduates, you can see here that now there is a temporary public policy to facilitate PR for physicians in Canada. And I'll give you a little bit of a background on this notification. This is actually really good because a lot of physicians in Canada work on a fee-for-service basis, which is kind of like an independent contractor. And you guys know, because you've watched these videos long enough or taken my course, or you've actually gone and read the website, the reality is there is, sorry, my wife's sending me a text message in the midst of this. In the past, physicians would not be eligible to go through the Canadian Experience class because they considered the work self-employed. But now this policy changes that, and after a long period of time, now they are saying, okay, we will recognize that, yes, you can go through these programs as physicians because we need you in Canada. And so I'm really, really happy to see that development. I've worked for many, many international doctors who are working in Canada over the years, and this is a much, much needed development. So that's really cool. Then one other shout out too for all you South Korean youth, because now Canada has entered into one of those international experience work abroad programs with South Korea. So very cool. We're pretty happy to see that development through International Experience Canada. Yeah, things are looking up for both of those areas. All right. It's time now, you guys. Let's jump over and I'm just going to pull this one off. Let's start right and see how many questions we can dive through as we're working through this. Okay, Geetha started off here at the beginning. I just have one doubt. Does Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program accept Life Insurance Corporation policy as proof of funds? No. Here's one thing that I want you guys to understand. Any funds that are not liquid available that you can pull out right away are not going to be used for like, they're not going to be accepted for settlement. Now, I don't know if this in particular is something that's liquid that, you have access to the funds. Most life insurance policies, if they're in there, they want to make sure that those funds are actually pulled out and available to use. And I've seen repeatedly PNPs that don't accept those things. So you could submit it, and it's, there might be a possibility that an officer says, oh, okay, that's probably good enough. But I can tell you myself that I would never, ever do it for any of my clients. Unless those funds are actually an account that's liquid, like that you can use, for settling in the province, in Saskatchewan, I wouldn't do it. That's my view on that one. Okay, Pulkit says, if one studies first semester at Brampton and then rests 3 semesters at Sault Ste. Marie, would he be eligible for a 1-year work experience exemption for RNIP? That, Pulkit, you need to give me a whole lot more information on that. So semester at Brampton, like what RNIP? Remember, each RNIP has their own kind of eligibility stuff. Now, IRCC has basics for it, but when it comes to the community nominations and things like that, 3 semesters. I need more information on that, Pulkit, before I could give you a response. I recommend you book a consult. We can actually look at that. Okay, now we're back to Taj's question. Can I work between the end of my study permit and the approval of my new study permit extension or approval of my postgrad work permit? Okay, so you got a lot of questions going on here. All right, so the answer on the study permit, can I work between, is it depends. So it's more what's going on with your program. Are you still studying in your current program? Did you apply to extend your study permit before your other study permit expired? If that's the case, and the program, you're continuing just in the same program, but your study permit just expired, then typically there's not issues with that. When it comes to a postgrad work permit, the moment you receive confirmation that you've completed your graduation requirements, confirmation that you've completed your program, you have to stop working completely until you file your postgrad work permit. Then at that stage, you can keep working. So those are just some very high level, Taj, but I don't have a lot of details. When someone is asking whether I can work or I can do something, though, that's really legal advice. So generally speaking, in general terms, I'm not specific directly to you or saying that you can work in any of those situations, because that kind of stuff really comes down to, let's see what I've got here. It really comes down to this, which is booking a consult. Okay. Then we can actually sort it out. All right. Let's see what else we have next here. Niran Jan says, I've applied for a study permit extension in January and I still didn't get any response from IRCC. My question is that my IELTS is going to expire in August. Can they reject my application? Well, understand that when it comes to applying for any extensions of study permits, it's all over the map. If there's something missing or something wrong, that can trigger delays, but we've seen delays across the board with all kinds of things. Now, you're in Canada, and in terms of the timing on a study permit, you can go and look at the processing times right now. And if you're beyond the regular processing times, then often I will try to reach out and see what's going on. Sometimes I will request the GCMS notes to see if there's anything hung up within the application that I wasn't aware of, because sometimes it takes them a long time when it has to go for further review. And so there's usually time enough to do a quick GCMS request to get the notes, figure out if there's something operating in the background, and then proactively upload or some new documentation or address the concern before IRCC even asks you. So I will often do that, whether it's an express entry application or a study permit or whatever it might be. But in terms of IELTS, if your IELTS is expiring, I just rewrite it. That's what I do. I just rewrite it. Okay, let's see who is next here. Okay, Kevin says, hello, is it necessary to upload to the pages of all passports during the last 10 years for the express entry profile, or only the current one is enough? There is a multiple word on the specific field. Multiple means like if individuals have more than one nationality. So when it comes to passports, you only need to upload your current passport. And there's a long history behind that. And I've talked about this quite a bit in the past. And lots of people who post these helpful things online don't realize that, there was a time period where the requirement for a police certificate is really, and the rules for where you needed to provide a police certificate were more broad, I guess. In other words, now you need to provide police clearance certificates for every country that you've lived at for at least 6 months in a row since turning 18. Well, the rule before used to be cumulatively. So 6 months cumulatively over the last 10 years. And effectively what that meant is they would then ask for all those stamps in the passport, and the officer would go through and count up the days. And if you missed it, let's say you traveled to Dubai from India, and over the last 10 years, you made lots of trips that when you add up every single one of those days, it amounts to 6 months. But you didn't get a police clearance certificate for Dubai, or the UAE. Well, the officers would refuse applications in that circumstance. So then people started thinking, oh, we need to include all of our stamps to prove our travel and things like that. No, you don't. What this is about is that it's just the current passport and all stamp pages is what you need to provide. Okay, that's a good question. Thanks, Kevin. Okay, top 10 here. Can you repost your question? Because I don't see it. It may have come in before the live actually started. Okay, let's see what is next as far as questions. Okay, let's see. I'm scrolling now through all of the questions that you guys had asked about the rattlesnakes. That was so funny. Okay. All right. Roop says, hey, Mark, connecting from Halifax. Just wanted to ask if I would be withdrawn from CC if choose PNP pathway. How does this work? No, those are not mutually exclusive. Okay. So the only time you can't have multiple PR applications in the queue is if you're trying to sponsor, say, your parents and a spouse at the same time. You can't. That's only one. But when it comes to filing PR applications, if I'm uncertain as to what's happening, and I've applied for express entry application, and I've submitted an EAPR, usually that application is going to go faster than a PNP. So in those circumstances, unless I have some doubt or concerns about the express entry application, I often don't submit a PNP. But when it comes to some provincial nominee programs, if it's a program that's outside of the express entry route, then sometimes paper-based, you can go through those and, well, they call them paper-based, but through the PR portal outside of express entry, you can have multiple applications in the queue. Now, some provinces will say, hey, if you've already got another PR application submitted federally, then we're not going to process your application through our province. An example is the Ontario Human Capital Priority Stream that is directed to express entry. If they see you already have an ITA, then they won't proceed. But Roop, there's if there's no specific restriction from that province in proceeding forward with the actual nomination, you can have two permanent resident applications in the queue at the same time. You can. Okay, let's see what else here. All right. Okay. Let's see what else. Okay, we'll try to answer this. So Man says, this is not related to express entry, but can I ask if you also cater home care caregiver pilot program? If how does that work? Thank you. I don't do that. That's an area of practice that I don't focus on within the firm May. No, I don't do caregiver applications. Tala says, can we have live fishing? Express entry, it's starting to get me crazy. Let's try something different. It's kind of funny. I think you guys, I'll show you one thing. There was a time, and I'll just flip my screen around here. Okay, in here, if you scroll through the channel, you see that I actually have different playlists. And I think many people don't realize that. One of the playlists that I have in my YouTube channel, which I haven't recorded anything for a while, is called, let's see if I can find it here. This one, Mark's Out of Office Adventures. So in here, I do on occasion post fishing videos. So I have monster pike. I was supporting my little nephew Broyden Scoots with his little YouTube channel. And so I do have some other videos that I've posted in here that are kind of out of office. So yeah, so if you're looking for some other entertainment, I like, you should check out the monster pike from last year. That was pretty funny, and the massive rainbow trout, that was quite the rodeo last year as well. So yeah, those are kind of fun little videos to watch. So you can check those ones out. All right. We're all about everything. Hey, who cares? We can talk about anything. Having some fun here. Okay, let's see what we have next. Let's see what is next. I'm just scrolling. Okay, let's take Eric's question. Would a crime in foreign laws but not in Canadian laws, like draft evasion, lead to inadmissibility? Eric, that is a very, very good question. So the only time a foreign offense will make you inadmissible for criminality is if it equates to a relevant provision in Canada. So for example, if in your country, I'll give a practical example that people can get. And this is actually, excuse me, in my immigration law class that I took in law school, I actually did a paper on criminal equivalency and in the context of immigration. So this is an area that I've got a lot of experience with, as well as working on the border as an officer. I dealt a lot with this. Let's say you have someone who is in, a different country, and the drunk driving laws, so driving under the influence laws, make it criminal if you blow a 0.05 blood alcohol content. If you blow a breathalyzer and it registers that you've got a blood alcohol content of 0.05, okay? So if that amount, and you're convicted of that, then you come to apply to Canada and they say, okay, well, you've got a DUI conviction in your home country. What they will do is they will look at the Canadian provision and examine the elements of that criminal offense to determine if they're similar. And you will find that in Canada, you actually have to have a higher blood alcohol content, a 0.08, generally speaking, to be guilty of a DUI in Canada. And so, because that offense in that other country makes something criminal that in Canada wouldn't be criminal, it wouldn't equate, and therefore you wouldn't be inadmissible. So as far as draft evasion, I can't specifically address that. I'd have to actually look at the criminal code. I don't know what the rules or laws are, but it's not necessarily the criminal code. It is, in addition, an act of parliament in Canada. So I need to see if there's any other acts of parliament that make draft evasion, a criminal offense in Canada. So yeah, that's exactly what I do, the criminal equivalency, Eric. And definitely that's a consult, because that is a very, very detailed legal analysis. Okay. Okay, so just to clarify, Sarab, CEC applicants do not need to worry about the fund requirement if they meet the eligibility requirements for the Canadian Experience class. And yes, the candidate was an FSW that I was referring to. Okay, let's see who's next here. You guys are so funny. I love your comments. Okay. Okay, so this one here, Sarab, this is where you need to book a consult. So I'm definitely not going to be able to answer all the different documents that you need to carry with you to safely return. So yeah, I recommend that you book a consult. Okay, Manu says, I provided the right data, express entry me the points 11 months. Okay, so if you're in the, okay, you know what? It probably makes sense to just show you what I'm talking about here. You know what? This is all about teaching you guys. And I think no one actually takes the time to go through this. Most people, if they are trying to answer questions on, online or do something similar to this, they never really dive in the way I do. And for me, it's all about teaching. It always is about teaching. And so the only way I can do this is to explain it. And I don't think anyone has really done this for you guys. So consider this brand new, fresh. What I'm doing right now is I'm just logging into my own representative portal here so that I can get access to the eligibility when individuals are looking to set up an express entry profile in their IRCC secure account. So let's go in here and I'm going to show you what I mean. All right. So, okay. So let me flip my screen around. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click on apply for express entry. Now your screens will probably be different than our representative portal, but it will be the same thing. So this is what I'm talking about. All right. So which province do you plan to live in? I'm going to go to Alberta. Okay. Then I click next. And what this is doing is it's basically assessing eligibility to see if you qualify under the Federal Skilled Worker Program or the Canadian Experience Class or the Federal Skilled Trade Program. All right. So you need to submit a language test. So this is where obviously you're going to be answering these questions truthfully. I'm just doing this for the purposes of demonstration only. So I'll say that we'll go with the IELTS, okay? I'll say, yes, I've taken that one. And then it says, what date? Why is it asking this? Because they want to make sure that the test was taken within 2 years. Because if it's older than 2 years, the results are not valid. Then it asks what the score is. So I know for the purpose of the Canadian Experience class that you need at least a CLB 5, but I'm just going to go with a CLB 9 just for fun. Okay. So we'll say speaking is 7, listening is 8, reading is 7, and writing is 7. Okay. The magical 8777. So we'll go here. So far, so good. Now, do you have any other language? I'll just say no, because I'm just going to go through CEC. Okay, find out if you're eligible. During this period, which tier, so you can see and this is the question that probably people, I don't know how you can submit a profile unless you don't answer this question truthfully. So in the last 3 years, how many years, and see right here, it says how many years of skilled experience do you have in Canada? If you only have 11 months, even if the system accepts it, you have to, at this stage, misrepresent. Because if you say less than 1 year, which should be the proper answer here, and if you do not have any experience, then write none of the above. Well, if I put less than 1 year and I'll say it's a tier 3, then what's going to happen is this is going to push me to the Federal Skilled Worker series of questions now. So you can see it says now, do you have experience outside of Canada? And then you could still get into the pool. And this is what I want to qualify. You still could get into the pool if you say, yeah, I have, 3 years of foreign work experience. And it's, it says, if you're not sure of the knock for your job, you can find one of the knocks. Okay, so make the selection. In the last 5 years, do you have, this is speaking for the Federal Skilled Trade. So I'll just say none. And I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time going through this, but it's important that you understand. So, and then see once again, how much money do you have? Like if there's just one person, then, 28,000 is going to be enough money. So all of these are designed to determine whether or not you meet the eligibility for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Do you have a valid job offer in Canada? I'll say no, because there's points awarded for this stuff, right, guys? And then what's your date of birth? There's points for date of birth. So I'll say I'm, 87. We'll just pick these ones here. If you did not earn a Canadian degree diploma, you may need to have foreign educational credentials. It says, what's the highest level of your education here? I'll just say master's. And then we keep going through here. You'll see now these are other areas where there's points. I've studied full-time in Canada for 2 years or more. I have at least 1 year of full-time work experience in Canada. Well, I don't have that, right? So we'll just pretend like we don't have these. A relative in Canada, I'll say none of the above. Then we go next. Marital status, because there's points for spouses. I will say that I am never married. And then you can see here, based on your answers, you appear to be eligible for express entry. Well, this eligibility is not the Canadian Experience class. Okay, it's not. So if we close, I'm going to exit this questionnaire. I'm going to get rid of, oh man, that's so annoying, that thing. I got to figure out why it is. Okay, I'm just going to log out of that. But you can see when you're going through there, if you answer these questions, the only way you can get into the CEC as eligible is if you don't answer that correctly. So there you go. Just teaching you guys a little bit. Okay, so as far as Manu, you provided the right data. You did. And you can provide once once it's opened up. Actually, let me just shift back here. If you answer the questions properly, and I've got, let me just exit this again. Exit. And I go back to this little dummy one that I started here. Okay, we'll just click on, which one is it? 11. Okay, we'll do this one. Okay, if you answer the questions, like you say, yeah, I have 1 year, then it will pull this up for you. So it will actually create a place for you to enter your work history. And when you enter your work history in here, you still have to answer, like you're going to answer the questions correctly. And if you are eligible under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, then it is possible in those circumstances for you to add in your Canadian experience and be given credit for it, but you were eligible because of the federal skilled worker. And I don't, but still, if you're talking purely about CEC, the only way that you could get the CEC is if, and if you didn't have FSW already, would be to not answer that eligibility question truthfully. So, so I'll leave it at that. And people gloss over that. They say, oh, it doesn't matter. It's just a wizard. Well, understand it. It's still, you're asking the questions, right? Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Indy is from Sri Lanka. Hey, I just had a consult with someone who's a permanent resident from Sri Lanka looking to sponsor a spouse today. On a visitor visa, is there a way to convert my status to a work permit? Well, there is. You have to get a labor market impact assessment from an employer. And as a former border officer, I hate flagpoling, but that's what people do. They then, once they get their LMIA, they then try to go down to the border to apply for the work permit there. But I do not like that. I don't advise it. It opens up the possibility for an officer, Indy, to say, Indy, I think you misrepresented your true nature of your visitor visa if you were already planning on working in Canada. And I don't think you told the truth on your visitor visa application. So I am going to deny you entry. I'm going to allow you to leave, but I'm going to defer your examination for a week to pack up your stuff and then fly out. And that's what happens. And I see that happen a lot. Okay. Okay, Lucky, I don't know if I can really answer this one. My friend answered no. He is working in Canada and stated from which day. His profile was automatically updated to 1 year in April, but they added an Oxy job to make up the 1 year experience. Doesn't make sense, Lucky. The system shouldn't, I guess if, you still have to indicate what NOC code, what tier it is. So yeah, I'll leave that one for now. We've beat that one to death. Yeah, we have. Okay, Sax says, I have 5 kids and I want to apply through Express Entry, but I want to apply only for my oldest child. Do I still have to show a proof of funds for all 6 of us, even for not coming? Yes, you do. Any dependent is included within the calculation for settlement funds. Okay, predictions for the draw today. I don't know. Have we had a draw? Let's see where we're at. Let's pull this up and just take a peek and see what we have today in our tickle trunk of Express Entry invitations. Okay, let's see if we see anything. Oh, look at this, guys. Hot off the press. Hot off the press. We've got one today. Just showed up during our live. So once again, no program specified. It was 488, which makes sense because we've had a little bit of a delay since the last one. 4,800 spots. So it looks like this is kind of where we're hanging around. And the question everybody's asking, so everybody out there is all asking this. I don't even have to. Everybody is. This guy right here, Minister, what are you doing with the targeted draws? When are you going to start them? At first, it was the spring, right? Well, technically, we're still in the spring, but then in some of the public media, things that he had done, he'd indicated that in the latter part of 2023, he would be doing targeted draws. So we'll have to see what happens. So I didn't even get an opportunity there to do a prediction on this because the round of invitations happened. So round 249, May 24th, which is today, 4,800 invitations extended, lowest 488, and the tiebreaker was December 6th of last year. So anyone who submitted after that date that had 488 points did not receive an ITA. So there is advantages to trying to get it in as soon as you can, But don't fib on that 1 year question if you don't have any foreign skilled worker experience. Don't fib on that eligibility just to be able to submit your profile through CEC. Wait until you have the 1 year. Then there's not going to be any problems. Okay. Yeah, and understand, Lucky, with this, people use this to get around, right? So he got invited, he waited to the 55th day to apply, hoping to buy more time before submitting. And understand that that process can work. It can, but I do not deal in probabilities. I deal in possibilities. All right. Okay, we're just about wrapped up here, and then I have my my firm meeting. So let's see, we'll get to a few more here. And the ones asking about what the draws are going to look like, well, we know what they are because you guys have just seen it. Yes, NRS. So NRS says, I did my medical for my work permit application last year in my country before coming to Canada. I read that I can use the same medical number for my express entry. It's a temporary policy. Yes, it is. You have to watch the date, watch the expiry on that temporary policy. Medicals that were obtained within the past 5 years may be eligible, but definitely make sure you include a copy of that previous medical e-medical information sheet with your IME number so they can track it. And I also allude to the policy when I'm helping my clients. Okay, Karen says, hey, Mark, can a spouse with an open work permit allowed to study for 6 months or less? That question, you'll need to book a consult on that one, Karen, so I can understand your exact situation. Because remember, the 6 months or less is only triggered when you're coming in to visit on entry. So in that first 6 months of being in Canada, once you've been issued something else, this is the greatest misconception. The policy only applies for 6 months of study on entry when you first come to Canada. So if you've already been here for over 6 months on a work permit and then say, hey, can I study for 6 months or less? The answer is no. So please be careful with that. Okay, Subadeep says, I along with my wife completed PCC for my home country more than 6 months ago. If we don't go back to the country, if we don't go back to the country, will our PCC still be valid, or we do it again? If you obtain the police clearance certificate after you left, okay, after you left that country, if you obtained your police clearance certificate and you've never gone back, then it won't expire. If you obtained it even for 1 day while you were there, then it would only have been valid for 6 months, and then you'll have to get a new one. All right. Let's see here. See if we can hit just a couple more. I don't think we have any other supers that came through. No, just those ones. All right, we're just about wrapping up. Let's see if we've got one other one here. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down. Yeah, lots of questions today, guys. Okay, I'll address this Rockstar question really quick. Can I add my, let's see, Prem, what does he say here? Okay, all right, let's see here. Rockstar says, can I add my spouse as non-accompanying to my express entry profile ID? My spouse is inside Canada on spousal open work permit. I would never, ever do that, Rockstar. I've seen people being found to have misrepresented when they say that. So I would never, ever do that. Not unless you can truly demonstrate that your spouse is truly not going to be here and is leaving to go back home to care for parents or whatever. I would never, ever do that. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. We've got a lot of questions. Remember, tomorrow at noon, Alicia and I are going to be going live again tomorrow, and you can also join us then to ask more questions. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anything else. Yeah, we've got this Gatika Thacker. Okay, so here we'll finish with yours. And we get a lot of questions about this, especially in the context of study permit applications and visitor visas. After AI refusal, I don't know if I can apply again. My profile will be properly reviewed by an officer, or the AI will analyze my application. AI approves applications. It doesn't refuse, at least based on what IRCC says. So if you've got a refusal, it was an officer who actually made some form of a decision. Now, whether they actually turned their mind to everything or just relied in the recommendations of AI, that's something that's still a mystery. And I wish IRCC would be more transparent. But I recommend that you book a consult there so we can look at the actual reasons. In some cases, there's options for judicial review, etc. So I recommend that you just slide over and book a consult. And it's pretty easy to do, you guys. If you slide over here, all you have to do is go to our firm website, right at the top, speak to a lawyer. And it's very, very easy to jump in, select, the consult type that you want, the actual date that you want to book the consult. And you can see even tomorrow, Alicia's got appointments tomorrow that she has open. And so take a look at that. And I also want to let everybody know, as we're wrapping up here, that the Express Entry Masterclass is underway right now, but you can absolutely 100% connect in and get all of your questions answered. You won't miss a beat, and you'll have the ability to join the next masterclass when we do it as well. But it's so, so critical that you actually take the time to go through the over 10 hours of content. It's all on demand. You can pick and choose what you want. And you can just listen to the comments that people make in terms of the effect of this. But it's literally a video for each of these sections that cover every aspect of the express entry process. And there's still time, 4 to 5 p.m. We've got 2 one-hour sessions, but there's always a community group associated with this course. And you can post your questions in there, and every question gets addressed and answered. So I'd encourage you to slide over and check that out. And of course, we have other courses, study permit, etc. here within our guide. So definitely go check those out. Express entry, we've got a post-grad 18-month course, study permit course, and spousal sponsorship course. I have an LMIA one, which covers a lot of things, but I haven't updated it to the new online filing, but everything in there is spot on. So so there's a bunch of options for you. All right, let's wrap it up, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in today in this live. And I know there's a bunch of questions that I didn't quite get to, but remember, we are, we're going to be back alive. Alicia and I, alive. We will be back live tomorrow at noon. You can get your questions answered if I wasn't able to get to yours. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much.